Hi, nice to see everyone. Hello and welcome to Saffron seminar on what we've termed the coaching conundrum. My name's Alex Baker, so I'm an instructional designer and project lead at Saffron, and this is my colleague.
Hello, I'm Ben Broadrip. I'm a senior instructional designer and project lead at Saffron Interactive.
So the conundrum, in short, is that currently there is both high employment and a high number of vacancies in the labour market. So the skills demand in the labour market cannot solely be fulfilled by new entrants, and so organisations are looking to quickly upskill their pre-existing workforce in order to stay competitive. Now, we all know that upskilling and reskilling is quite difficult to do, but one of the most effective methods to do so is through coaching. But how effectively can current coaching practice tackle the issues, and is there another solution that we can use to solve this problem? So, let's hope this works. First of all, we'd love to hear from you. If you've logged into slido.com already, that's great. If you've not, if you could go onto slido.com and just type in the number 766064, and it would be great to hear your thoughts on this poll. So it's cut off a little bit, so I'll read it out. So what type of coaching strategy does your organization have in place at the moment? Is it peer-to-peer informal, executive coaching, peer-to-peer formal, or none at all? So it seems to be peer-to-peer informal, seems the most popular from what we can see, with executive coaching coming along kind of mid-range there. Although there is
a bit more for executive coaching.
Although there's some with none.
If you've got a mobile device, you can use the QR code as well. That's a bit quicker. But yeah, we'll give people another minute or so. Ooh. Okay, I can see the numbers jumping up now.
So that's great. So peer-to-peer informal seems to be the most popular, but with executive coaching coming along second there. So we'll move on. There's another question here. So the second question we'd love to know about is, what do you think the barriers are to having a coaching program in your organization? So first of all, is it the cost of coaching? Is it the scale of coaching, so the amount of people in the organization who would need to be coached? Is it the availability of coaches? So who has the skill set to provide the coaching? Or is it the time available both for coaches to coach and for coaches to receive the coaching? So kind of looking at this, it seems that scale is, again, kind of the most popular and the biggest issue that people are seeing there to coaching, but also cost and time coming along there as well. Apologies, it's kind of coming off the end there, but it looks like scale, cost and time are the highest, with scale
and I think,
the biggest reason.
We can see that, I mean, all of them are key issues. You know, scale seems to be winning, but actually all of them, they're all issues that need to be overcome. So.
And if you could stay on slido.com, we have one more question later on in the presentation just to save you logging in later. So, what is coaching? I'm sure everyone has their own definition of coaching, and there are many things that go into it. For us, coaching at its core is encouraging improvement through reflective feedback. So in particular, a coach is someone who wouldn't necessarily know your day-to-day life, but they would be someone who focuses on and encourages your self-reflection. So coaches like this are most often professionals. They're brought in from outside of an organization. They're someone who asks you reflective questions, and they help you to carve out a path for your self-development. In contrast, internal coaches are often actually taking on a mentor role. So they're people who work with you, and they have direct experience of your current role and responsibilities. So let's take a look at the current coaching landscape. So traditionally, coaching is delivered in person or over video call, either by professional coaches or who are brought in from outside of an organization, or it's embedded as daily management practice to be done by line managers. So external coaches tend to focus on the executive suite, and they often come with a hefty price tag. And it's often not affordable to provide professional coaching for the entirety of your workforce. And so as a consequence, line managers tend to take on the burden of coaching the rest of the workforce, but that's quite difficult for them if they're juggling their workload. And this means that in general, a lot of the workforce is just not being invested in a meaningful way. However, investing in employee skill sets should be a business imperative, as data has shown that the total number of skills required for a single job is increasing by 10% year on year, and companies are spending £6.6 billion trying to plug their short-term skills gap, yet they still find themselves short of the resource they need to grow and innovate. So workforces need to be able to adapt quickly to the new skills demand, and one of the best ways to do that is through coaching, and that's what organisations are turning to in an attempt to fix that. So also, as well as the skills gap, organisations are facing what has been termed the Great Resignation. However, the Great Reshuffle may be a more appropriate term. So record numbers of employees are quitting their jobs in the past few years, and they're also being rehired at new organisations. So organisations, they're trying to both upskill an entire workforce and just hold on to their workforce. And again, it's important for coaching here because organisations often try to show that they're invested in their employees by offering them coaching. So, yes.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So we've seen how coaching is currently applied and that organisations are hoping to use it to target two key concerns in the sector at the moment. But why actually would coaching be so effective in resolving these concerns? So L&D is known for a long time that coaching in the workplace has very tangible benefits for both the employee and for the organisation as a whole. So these include an increased ability in employees to acquire new skills or improve existing ones, increased performance motivation in employees, improved working relationships within a team, and an improved workplace culture in general. Coaching can also help companies retain their workforce, as research suggests that companies that prioritize internal mobility have employees staying with the company around 2 times longer. So that's about 5.4 years, as opposed to the average 2.9 years. Data has also shown that coaching can bring about a 53% increase in productivity, a 61% increase in job satisfaction, and a 48% increase in organizational strength. So that's great. But why then is live coaching not an effective solution for upskilling your entire workforce? Well, because there are some very real limitations to what live coaching can do by itself. One limitation is the amount of time available to coaches to spend with their coachees. As we discussed earlier, while some organizations may bring in external coaches for their executive suite, research shows that line managers are the most likely to take on the burden of providing coaching to those outside of it, so the majority of the workforce. However, managers are often time poor, and 73% of leaders cite that their in-house coaches do not have enough time to devote to coaching due to other priorities. So to achieve results, coaches need high-value, effective interventions, which isn't possible with coaches that are just juggling their existing workloads alongside providing coaching support. A second limitation related to time is frequency. So that's the amount of time between sessions in which a coachee has to implement those actions. Research has shown that around 62% of coaching engagements consist of around 2 sessions per month, with a business management consultancy suggesting that for the coaching that they offer, a typical program is 6 sessions over 4 to 6 months, each of 2 hours duration. That's fine for anyone who does receive that, but if your coach, for example, your line manager, is time poor, odds are that your coaching sessions will be infrequent and inconsistent, meaning that the time you have to put your agreed actions into practice may be too short or too long. Another risk area for current coaching practice is the quality of the coaching provided. As mentioned, coaching responsibilities often fall on managers. However, the training a manager can deliver is reliant on the training they themselves have received. 43% of employers are concerned over the low skill levels of those doing coaching or mentoring. Quality is also a risk area when you bring in professional external coaches, as you won't necessarily know how good they are until they've already begun. A good coach needs to motivate their coachee, generate rapport, and ask insightful questions. If your external coach isn't good enough, or your internal coach does not have the coaching skill set, then the coaching your workforce receives will be unsuccessful. One further risk area linked to quality is measurement. We can get great anecdotal feedback on the success of in-person coaching, but how can we clearly measure that the coaching has been effective? And what outcomes did it have a direct hand in? What can you measure if you only receive anecdotal feedback from coaches and coachees following in-person sessions? Ultimately, how can your business measure the outcomes that were a direct result of the coaching?
So it's our final Slido poll of the presentation. So now that we've seen the benefits and limitations of current coaching practice, what we'd like to explore is how AI and digital-enabled coaching can come in and resolve some of these issues that are going on at the moment. But first, we'd really like to know your initial thoughts on AI and digital coaching. So our question would be are you more equally or less trusting of the recommendations of a digital coach compared to an in-person coach? So it looks like equally trusting, although less trusting is coming in second.
Nobody's more trusting yet.
No one is more trusting. So equally trusting, but with some kind of reticence there on trusting a digital coach. And that's fair, I think. And that is definitely kind of representative of the current thinking. Thank you. So one of the ways that AI and digital coaching can improve upon current coaching practice is that the technology is well suited to delivering a large amount of learning strategies to each individual user. For example, a digital coach can be programmed to nudge users to complete actions and return to their development plan. And these nudges are an effective counter to what's been termed Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve. So Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve theorizes that after we learn something, if there's no attempt made to revisit or retain the learning, we lose about 50% within the first 24 hours. And then by the seven-day mark, we're down to about 10%. So nudges from AI coaches can ensure that the learning is continuous and revisited. However, they do rely on the learner not ignoring them. And so there is a limitation there with the nudges. And so another learning strategy that AI coaching is well suited to implement is ensuring that the learner is employing deliberate practice and self-reflection. So this can be subtly embedded in your working day. For example, you're probably engaging in reflective practice if you engage with your Microsoft Viva reports that come through each week, as it's asking you to look at what you've done that week, how you spent your time, and potentially kind of changing some of your actions based on that. Or it's potentially going into your junk folder, depends if you want to engage with it or not. So the final learning strategy that AI can deliver is AI and digital-enabled coaches are also uniquely suited to ensuring a continuous learner journey. So they can employ a variety of techniques to achieve this. So for example, if a learner's marked a goal as complete, the AI coach can be immediately triggered to encourage them to create a new one. So AI coaches can monitor learner progress, and they can send encouragement if the learner's not logged into their coaching in a long time. And it can also sense learner confusion and address it immediately, preventing learners and employees who are struggling from falling through the cracks, which can sometimes happen with live coaching just due to limitations of time and availability.
Thanks, Alex. So what else is it about the nature of AI and digital coaching that means we can trust in its ability to upskill an entire workforce? The first thing we can trust in is the capability of the technology to be both scalable and personable. As we all know, effective coaching requires personalization, as a good coach will deliver interventions based on the need of the recipient and the company's desired coaching culture, rather than providing so-called cookie-cutter interventions, which are the same for every company and employee. AI and digital coaches are highly capable of doing this because of developments in enhanced sentiment analysis. There are already examples in use today, including Saffron Interactive's own Ada, an artificially intelligent video coach with sentiment analysis and voice and text recognition technology that allows lifelike conversations to be held so that users feel supported and motivated. Programs like Ada can personalize the learner journey, working with the user to establish specific action plans and personalized dashboards. We can also trust AI and digital coaches that can and do work harmoniously with live intervention. We are not suggesting that AI will replace live coaches entirely. Instead, AI-enabled and digital coaches can offer support to live coaches, which frees up time for the live coach to provide targeted support where it is really needed. There can be a lot of repetitive legwork with coaching, and an AI coach can take much of that away, providing consistency of service to your entire workforce. Digital coaches are even able to take on some of the diagnostic and assessment elements themselves. For example, Ada guides learners through a personalized skilled assessment, which can be used to help the live coach to identify areas for development, as well as allowing the learner to engage with them in productive self-reflection. It's true that certain issues may need a more in-depth one-to-one conversation. Ada can identify learners struggling and alert the live coach. In Ada's award-winning prototype, the live coach was able to monitor the progress of their coachees through the AI coach. If the live coach sees the learners are struggling or simply has not entered the platform in a while, they know to intervene. The overall result of this harmonious relationship is that digital is able to deliver effective coaching at scale for individuals, while the live coach has the time to deliver high-value help where it is needed the most.
And finally, developments in sentiment analysis mean that we can be confident in the emotional intelligence of AI and digital coaches. So I'm sure everyone here has had a conversation with a customer service chatbot, which is just so frustrating that you desperately ask it to let you speak to a real person in the end. However, this is just definitely not the experience that you'll get with AI and digital coaches. So digital coaches and AI coaches are more intuitive and realistic than ever. So for example, in Ada's prototype, we use sentiment analysis and intuitive design to produce lifelike conversations between the learner and digital coach. The learner is also able to pick a coach, someone who they feel comfortable with and someone who they can relate to. Interestingly, in the third-party evaluation of Ada's prototype, of 500 of the users polled, of those who gave us feedback, 100% of users found the AI coach to be engaging and a positive experience. And anecdotally, many preferred the digital coach to explore sensitive issues, as digital mitigated what can be perceived judgment that sometimes occurs with live dialogue, whether the judgment is there or not. So, finally, we have had promising feedback from users of Ada's prototype, and this kind of technology has so much potential for application. So digital and AI coaches can be built very accessibly, so they can work very easily with adaptive technology, and they can often work well for neurodiverse coaching strategies. Also, digital coaching tools can be built to suit your needs, covering a range of topics from mental health to financial resilience. It can also be translated easily into multiple languages, and digital coaches can be swapped out as needed depending on the learner's comfort level with them.
So to round up, coaching is one of the most effective ways to upskill and reskill your workforce. But live coaching alone just cannot do this fast enough or at a large enough scale to meet the increasing demand for the skills in the labour market. AI and digital-enabled coaching can be used to support the work of your coaches, both internal and external, working in harmony or at times independently to upskill your workforce quickly and effectively, while still retaining that personalisation that is so integral to a good coaching conversation. Technological development means that digital coaches can be emotionally intelligent and also built to meet a wide range of accessibility and company requirements. And finally, AI and digital coaches are very much not a dream in the distant future, but they're in use today in many different forms, some of which you may encounter every day without even realizing it. And actually, you can encounter one right now today over there with Ada. So thanks very much for listening. And we'd love to take some of your questions. And we'd also like I said, to invite you over to meet Ada for yourselves. Thanks very much.
So does anyone... Oh. No question? Any questions?
We're also very happy to take questions on the stand, or if you'd like to come up and speak to us rather than putting your hands up.
We're here for 2 days, so please come over. Thank you.